are being trained all day, even when you think nothing is happening. By the videos you watch, the music you repeat, the people you listen to. You think it's just background, but it's shaping who you are. So most people think that consistency is just about discipline, trying harder and pushing more. What if the real reason that you kept on falling off is that your environment has been rehearsing a version of you that can't hold the habit? My name is Ashley Pierre. I'm the Director of Research at the Global Institute for Behavioral Sciences, and I'm also the author of the book Habit Theory. And one of the ideas I talk about in Chapter 5 is the Japanese idea of shikake. It's the idea that behavior can be shaped by design. And once you see this, consistency stops looking like self-control and starts looking like what has been controlling you. Now, this is the model that most people use to try to be consistent and disciplined. See, we have you over here, and you do actions to create your dream life, right? And so you are doing actions, but also the actions are changing who you are, right? Because if you be more disciplined, then you just become a more disciplined person. And so what a lot of people do is they try to increase the actions. But this is the model that a lot of people use, and they struggle with staying consistent. Because when they're not doing the actions, they just say, well, I just need to try harder. I just need to be more disciplined. And so they try to increase the amount of actions with force, and it never works. Why? It's because they forget that there is something that is creating you. The actions that you do are not the only thing creating you, but there's also something else, and this is called inputs. The inputs that you consume are creating you. The inputs that you consume are either making it easier or harder for you to do the actions that create your dream life. Stop focusing all of your attention on the actions and trying to do the actions, and focus on the inputs that are creating you. And this is a term that I reference in the book called input theory. Consistency starts earlier than effort. It starts with your environment. Your environment is made up of your cues, your defaults, your repeated exposures, and your social norms. And we're going to be diving deep into each of these and how to change them to make it easier for you to be consistent. So if your inputs are chaotic, low standard, distracting, overstimulating, then that, right, it's what's building you, which then affects your ability to do the action, right? People think, I just need to try harder here. If trying harder worked, it would have already worked for you. So instead, we need to start before the action. We need to go back to what are all the inputs that are shaping who you are, the person that does the actions in the first place. Because it makes no sense to try to produce disciplined behavior from a system being fed undisciplined material all day. If you find it hard to be consistent, it's probably because your current system is being programmed against your goals. You are being trained. You're being trained by repeated exposure, right? Your inputs are shaping your attention, your baseline state, your standards, your beliefs, your desires, your identity. They're shaping who you are. The videos that you watch, the music that you listen to, the conversations that you have. Now, we talk a lot about, you're the average of the people that you spend time around. You're also the average of what you consume. What are you watching? Look at your watch history. If you are watching celebrity gossip, or watching, this kind of like new political entertainment where it's like liberals did this, conservatives did this, and we're just this judgment culture, then you will become a more judgmental person. Your social media feed is not just entertainment, it is identity training. One of the most common forms of this is just like TikTok and short form content. If you're genuinely trying to be more consistent, one of the highest leverage things that you can do is stop consuming short form content. What it's doing is it's training your brain to be rewarded for low effort. It's giving high dopamine, low effort. It makes it a lot harder for you to do actions that are high effort, low dopamine. Imagine this is your baseline state, right, for dopamine. You are raising your baseline state because your brain is getting used to this low effort, high dopamine. So now when you have to do high effort, low dopamine activities, your brain is like, why would you do that? That's hard. I'm used to this. So your inputs are not just the content that you consume, but also the amount of dopamine that content is giving your brain. How you train your brain. Are you consuming content where people have the perfect bodies, the perfect life? And that's then training your brain. It's not even in your control, but unconsciously to start comparing your life and comparing yourself to what they have. You're comparing your real life to their highlight reel, right? So inputs are not just the content, but also what this content is doing to your brain. What this content is doing to your thoughts. The thoughts that are generated from consuming this type of content. Now, you might think, oh, thoughts in your control, I can just think better thoughts. Like, positive thinking is this new common trend. A lot of people don't realize that the thoughts that pop into your head, most of your thoughts are not in your control. They just pop into your head. So what we want to do is we want to consume content that then leads to better thoughts popping into our head. The easiest thing to do is look at your YouTube history. Look at your TikTok history. Look at the content that you consumed in the past and ask, what kind of person is this training me to be? What kind of thoughts are popping into my head after I watch this content? Are these thoughts that help me and motivate me to build my dream future? Or are they thoughts that make me feel bad about myself? Are they thoughts that make me judge myself and judge other people? Look at what you're listening to every day. Look at the conversations that you're having. This is a map of what identity your current system is rehearsing. And this identity either makes it easier or harder for you to be consistent. Consistency. Consistently doing these actions, it comes before the actions. It goes back to your inputs. Now, the next thing to understand is that you have all of the power. You have all of the power to control your inputs. Your inputs are a greater reflection of your past self than your future self. So you need to ask yourself, and I have another video talking about actually how to define the vision for your life, break that down into habits, and so you know the action that you need to consistently be doing, right? That's the first step, having complete clarity of where you want to go. But ask yourself, what identity is this content training me to become? In your feed, start clicking mute or not interested in content that isn't building your future, isn't improving your thought quality. Your inputs are not only your content, but also the people around you. If you're trying to be more disciplined, then reduce your contact with people who are addicted to habits that you don't want to be addicted to. Sometimes you're not able to completely cut these people out of your life, but just reduce your contact with them. Look at the energy of the people around you. Their standards are going to become your normal. You might be hanging out with people who make your ambition feel weird and feel wrong. And as much as you might say, it makes it feel wrong, but I'll keep trying to do it, you're making it harder for you to be consistent. If your friends make you feel wrong for stopping drinking, for working on your business while they're hanging out, and you choose to keep them in your life, you're putting their feelings over your goals. Stop compromising and commit to the identity that you're trying to build. A lot of people think like, oh, well, I'll just keep them in my life. Like, it might be making it a little bit harder, but I want to keep them in my life. They've been in my life, forever. Like I said before, your current inputs don't reflect your future identity. They reflect your past identity. Your current friends reflect your past self. If you're trying to become your future self, you need different inputs. The part that's tough about this is the higher up you go, the higher standards that you have, the less people you're going to have in your life, because high standards are rare. If we look at the average American's broke, overweight. So when you're trying to set higher standards and decide not to be that, then you're not going to be able to be friends with as many people because those are their standards. Low standards have become the average standard. And so you're being tricked into thinking, well, as long as I'm average, that's okay. But the average American has these standards. So you can't be afraid to cut people out of your life or reduce the contact of people that are lowering your standards. Because the conversations that you have are your inputs. Everything you repeatedly consume trains the self. So look at all of the inputs in your life and ask yourself, what am I letting in? What is it doing to my state and attention? What kind of actions does it make easier? And what kind of identity is it rehearsing? Your inputs are the raw material of the self. Your inputs shape your attention shapes your thoughts shape your action, and your action shapes your life. So if you want higher success, you need higher quality inputs entering your system consistently. Because when you try to force better outputs without changing what's feeding the system, then that leads to inconsistency, because it feels like a fight. But the Japanese secret to consistency, shikake, says behavior is shaped by design. So if you change your inputs, you design a better system, which leads to easier behavior. I talk more about this in my book, Habit Theory, which you can get for free below. And also, if you want to work with me one-to-one to help you define your dream life, turn that into the habits that you need to be doing every single day, and actually help you install the Habit Theory system to build those habits, then you can work with me by clicking the link in the description. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.